Hi, my name is Reverend Watana Dice Finnegan, and I'm your Youth and Family Ministry Consultant for the Southeast region, which also includes Uniteens and Young Adult Ministry. I want to give thanks to the UMAS leadership for inviting me here today to share with you recommendations and ideas in bringing your youth and family ministry back into your church and centers. So let's go ahead and get started. As my title states, yes, we can. I wanted to put that in the affirmative, along with recommendations that are safe for reopening our youth and family ministry in our Unity churches and centers. And I believe we can do so, even if it's by baby steps. We can bring our families back into the spiritual fold. So how do we do this? Certainly by the power of imagination, along with a safety protocol and common sense. We can create a new plan or plans where the spiritual environment for our young people and leaders in youth and family ministry are safe. Let us be willing and most of all, open to new ideas of worshiping together. Use the following ideas that certainly work for you and your church or center. One idea may not fit for everyone. So I broke it down into two parts. The first part will be addressing nursery and unitaught issues, and part two in ways to address layouts and protocol for elementary, Uniteen, and YOU programs. So before I break them up, I wanted to just review some general preparedness and planning that would actually address both groups. To begin the process of integrating your youth and family back into your church, I would recommend sending out a survey to your parents as well as those volunteers that help your young ones. If you do not have a template or a survey created, simply email me at watana@yahoo.com and I will be happy to send one to you. Bridget Barnhart, one of our youth ed directors in the Southeast region, created two surveys and has been willing to share them with everyone. Also, keep yourself up to date with state, local, and CDC guidelines as they are always changing. And I would also encourage you to check with your insurance company as well as your attorney for their up-to-date guidelines and requirements. So let's go within. Does your youth and family ministry building space, the actual space allotted for youth and family, does it allow for entering and exiting in separate doorways? Always remember that no matter what you decide on, please communicate in a variety of ways the new guidelines for opening youth and family ministry. So once you bring them back, do you have ways to create a specific drop-off and pickup station that is separate from your other adult congregants? And once again, I need to remind you that all adults working with our young people need to have a background check. And make sure that you have plenty of volunteers to help man those drop-off and pickup stations. At least in the beginning, I would stagger the check-in times as this is going to be new procedures and it would require a few extra volunteers and a lot of patience getting everybody checked in and on their way. Signage is so important. Now that you've set new guidelines, you need to have signage throughout from the parking lot to the youth ed room, where to go, and how the process is. Keep it simple, keep it fun, and it will help you along the way. Pre-registration, I would highly recommend it for all classes. This allows your youth ed directors and your volunteers to know how many children and teens will be in each room, and will that room accommodate the number of kids that are registering. And you may have to have a cutoff limit and a cutoff date where once registration is done by, let's say, Friday at 5 p.m., that's it. And you have to make sure you have good guidelines for when people just show up, that this will not be accepted, and unfortunately will probably be turned away unless you have the space. But once you set those guidelines, you need to make sure to stick to them. You'll need to make sure that each room will accommodate 4 to 6 feet of social distancing. And if you have storage space or a room that isn't used, can you take some of those tables and bookshelves and items that right now aren't really necessary to be in the room? A lot of toys can be taken out, and books, so that it does allow space for more children or teens to be in the room safely. And once you're in the room, you need to make sure that you have the ability to mark off 4 to 6 feet of distance, not only for your check-in, but also within the rooms themselves. And I would recommend that children age 2 and higher wear face masks unless you're in an area where it has been deemed level 3 or higher and that you're safe to go without face masks. Also, you need to think about being flexible with your space and your times that youth and family ministry meet. And can you have both a live and a virtual classroom at the same time? So perhaps you can only allot so many children in a classroom, but yet if you have Wi-Fi, once you meet that cutoff, the rest of the children can participate. They will just be participating virtually. So let's talk about cleaning versus disinfecting. So cleaning is deemed as just eliminating soil and dirt. It's just wiping down the counters and going on your merry way. Where disinfecting is actually eliminating viruses and bacteria. And I have provided you with a website link below where you can log on and look at the recommended EPA disinfectants. There are 431 entries listed, so I'm sure you will be able to find something that meets your needs. So when you go to this site, and the link is listed below once again, you will have a registration number for each item, what the active ingredients are, what the product name is, what it kills or disinfects, and also the contact time that this product needs to be on the surface wet in order to disinfect it. And please make sure that you spend time really understanding how long it takes, 3, 5, 10 minutes, whatever it may be, to stay on your surfaces, on your toys, so that you don't waste time in thinking you've disinfected when actuality you have not. So I found this easy chart on coronavirus.gov, and I thought this would be super simple to place in each one of your rooms for all of your volunteers to follow. So the first step, obviously, is to check that product list and make sure that the disinfectants you're choosing is approved. Read the directions on that disinfectant. Make sure that the times are listed of when it has to be on the surface. I would drop down actually to 5. Make sure that you put on your gloves and your mask before you start cleaning and disinfecting. pre-clean first, wipe everything down, and then spray your disinfectant on your surfaces and allow the time to take place so that everything is safe and also sacred for those coming in. Once you disinfect everything, take your gloves and mask off, throw them away, and wash your hands and arms thoroughly. And most of all, make sure that those products are put up and locked up away from our young ones. Keep them safe above all else. So let's specifically talk nursery and unitaught rooms. I can't emphasize this enough. Pre-register them if possible. Stagger check-in times. Remember that these young ones, this will be maybe the first time or the first time in a long time coming back. There may be some separation anxiety. So just allow a little bit of time between check-in for that process to take place. All volunteers must wear face masks. And those volunteers that are working in the nursery, they should also wear a large shirt or some type of covering over their clothes, in addition to their gloves and face mask. As we know, babies drool and burp up, and when they do, make sure that that volunteer changes these items completely and puts on a fresh covering, new gloves, and a mask. Before children and babies cross the threshold, you can have a checkoff sheet asking parents to answer the following questions of making sure their children are well. And if you do temp checks, make sure that children's temperatures are below 100.4. If you see them have a temperature, you can gently and kindly say that they are not allowed in the classroom, and that you hope to see them back within 2 weeks, which is a quarantine time. If you are performing temperature checks, make sure that you wipe down that temperature thermometer each time you use it, and please change your gloves and mask as well. If you have hand washing stations, once the child crosses the threshold, have them go directly to the hand washing station. If you do not, have them put a little bit of hand sanitizer in their hand and help them wash their hands, including in between their fingers. And the hand sanitizer needs to be 60% of alcohol or up. And above all else, of course, keep this hand sanitizer out of the reach, because some will want to get it and help everybody wash their hands. Once your service is done, make sure that the entire room is disinfected, wiping down cribs and changing tables. If you do use that changing table during service, you have to completely disinfect it and wipe it down before a second use. Also, changing your gloves and mask frequently. And if you use blankets on the floors for toddlers to sit on, make sure that after each service that you take them up, put them in bags, and wash and dry them thoroughly. If you have an extra space in your classroom area or in your sanctuary area that would allow for toddlers, you might want, or babies, you might want to separate that space out and divide the babies and toddlers from each other. This would be only a temporary situation. I believe minimize your toys in your classroom, and certainly only those toys that can be easily disinfected. Keep items for babies and small children in a clear Ziploc bag with their name on it and separated. Children that are ages 2 and above should wear face masks, and those that are under 2, they are not to wear face coverings due to the danger of suffocation. If you have a sitting area outside, a gazebo or a garden area, we have now wonderful speakers that are portable that just require Wi-Fi. And this is a wonderful way for parents with newborns or with babies that are sleeping that can still be a part of the Sunday service physically, but they're still separated from other adults and children. Remember to keep all cleaners and disinfectants away from small children. Let's talk about specific tips for toys. These rubber blocks, as you see, are very easy to clean and disinfect. Any hard plastic or even bath toys like the rubber duckies, those are super simple to clean. I would absolutely eliminate all plush toys and not allow for outside toys to be brought into the nursery or toddler room or even the pre-K room. I would minimize those toys for each service, and I would also have toys, if you have more than one service, allot X amount of toys for service A and X amount of toys for service B, and do not cross-contaminate them and use them in both services. You know, one of the great things, you may not have rubber blocks, but you might have wood blocks and those heavy board books for toddlers and little children. And these are great, but you cannot submerge them in water or solution, but you can wipe them down with either a bleach solution or some kind of disinfectant wipe. This is also another good example of a toy that could be left in your nursery or toddler room. They are very easy to wash. And if you have a dishwasher in your hospitality area, after service, you can actually put those rubber toys on the top rack and run them through the normal or the sanitizing cycle, as well as using a bleach solution or the Lysol wipes. Remember that babies and toddlers like to put things in their mouth, especially if they're teething, and then they drop them and they're on to the next thing. So if you see this happening, you need to have your volunteers pick up the toys that were put in the mouth and put them away to be disinfected after the service. So if your space really doesn't allow for having separation for babies or toddlers, or it doesn't really allow for social distance measures, some other ministry options online you might want to consider in supporting youth and family ministry. You might consider a weekly prayer ministry for your parents, and above all else, our parents today really could use some prayer support. You might consider doing online parenting circles where there's a spiritual theme each week. You may separate and have mommy groups and daddy groups so they can be supported by their peers. Weekly story time for young children will be a big hit for your church. If you have someone that's quite animated or theatrical or just simply loves to read stories, videotape them and put that story reading time up each week for your children. Your parents will so appreciate you doing that. And along with story time, children love to sing. And if you have a choir or someone in your ministry that loves singing, why not have them sing some Unity children's songs and post it on your website? I know your families will love to join together in singing song. And toddler yoga, that is a lot of fun as well. So I'd like to move into part 2 in children and uniteens, and certainly YOU. For this particular group, creativity is key. I want to stress once again pre-registration, because this will allow those youth ed directors to know specifically how many kids are planning on attending, and if they need to switch rooms or make sure that they have enough space for social distancing. Remember, measure those rooms first so you actually know how many children can be placed in each room. And when there's a cutoff, that's when that virtual experience will need to take place. Hand sanitizer stations need to be in all the rooms as well as outside the room. Allow your kids to create a greeting without touching. This will be fun, and then you can share with the other classrooms what each of the greetings are. In that each classroom, create with chalk or tape circles and X's or squares, some way that indicates where each child should be able to sit. If you have the ability, I recommend pre-bagging supplies, and especially if you're doing a craft each week with your children, place it in a separate bag with their name on it. Make sure that you sanitize all pens and pencils that are used, and mask for all. And to the right, you see this very creative circles, numbers, fruit and colors. And this company out of the UK created these social circles. So this provides you an idea and ways to really get creative and fun in the classroom. So in Unity, we use heart agreements, and I thought when I saw these heart agreements are perfect for this new time. And although I tweaked them a bit, I want to thank Children's Mercy for at least giving me the template to work with. And first and foremost, we all of us, no matter what age we are, we need to cooperate with each other. We need to cooperate with state, local, and church guidelines, because these recommendations will actually keep us safe. And although we may have to distance, soon we'll be together if we just follow and cooperate with each other. We need to find new ways to operate and ways to bring our whole entire church family back together in a safe and sacred way. We need to vocalize our feelings and our frustrations at times, and listen to each other, and to know that we are not alone and that we are here to support each other. And gosh, this is the time to have great ideas, both big and small, and allow your young people to participate in creative ways of doing things back when we're all together. We know that we are unlimited in all possibilities, and everyone has an idea, and who knows, one of your young ones may come up with the best idea of all. And determination. We all have the power of strength within us, so let us pull that out and really use it to our benefit to certainly overcome our personal stress and difficulty during this time. And let's just be the anchors for each other and provide support. So I thought it would be nice to provide you with some ideas of what social distancing layouts in the classroom might look like. And of course, these are simply ideas. Your classroom may not be this large or have a different dynamic, but you can see where they have used a mat with those particular fruit circles on there, and they are separated out a bit. And also at the upper right, you can see that these children are staggered on the mat, and I would guess that they are sitting on X's, probably put down by tape. And I would encourage you, if you have a lot of tables or easels or things that right now aren't necessary to use, then I would take them out and put them into storage. This is a design for your elementary. And although you may not have tables that look like these, you can see how they have staggered the chairs, and I believe actually by eliminating these tables, you could actually have even more space. But you can see where this young teacher or volunteer is measuring off the social distance requirement and putting an X on one part of the desk where no one could sit at. And these are some ideas for our team programs that like to integrate with each other. Certainly, you could do it in a staggered fashion as it is up above. Once again, if you eliminate those tables or bulky furniture and even bringing in folding chairs, you could actually get a few more kids in to that classroom safely. And you could also, if you have 6 or 8 foot tables, you can put them together in a big circled space as you see and mark off by X's where each person could sit. And if there's not an X in front of you, you cannot sit there. So you could have fun where you have different colored X's on both the table and the chair, so each match up. And so you know there's no switching around, and it's easily to disinfect. So hybrid ministry. So let's talk about that. You know, over the years, ministers and youth ed directors and myself, we have prayed, we have brainstormed and tried different ways of bringing our kids to church each Sunday. And we know because of parent dynamics and other items such as sports and the arts and school often have conflict with Sunday service. And I believe that COVID-19 has actually provided us an answer to our prayers, and that is by a hybrid ministry where we can have both a live and a virtual class at the same time. And this allows all of our families, children and teens that cannot be with us on Sundays to participate. Even if it's for part of the time, they can now log in and be a part of the experience. And I say absolutely yes to that. And yes, we can do that. So, you know, just extending that Wi-Fi to those youth and family buildings so this can occur. If you are a church that is limited in your space and you may not be able to bring all your children and teens back on Sunday morning. So look at doing some type of hybrid ministry where you alternate Sundays, where teams may meet the first and third Sundays and your children meet on the second and fourth because of space. You can also have virtual class going on at the same time that regular class is going on. You can also look at perhaps doing your youth and family ministry a different time on Sunday or a different day of the week. I have found that this experience has been very inclusive, and that on Sundays when I host my youth service, that I have leaders and kids from all over the Southeast participating, and it's actually increased socialization. So why not have them both present physically and virtually at the same time? It's just a win-win. So in thinking about that and making sure that sanitizing and disinfecting is going on, let's also pose some questions for our youth and family ministry. And one of them I've mentioned already, and that is, could children and teen ministry meet at a different time on Sunday or a different day of the week and work together, especially if you have churches that are close by, or even if it's you're a little distance, why not alternate and have one program one day of the week and a service on Sunday, or whatever you choose, both physically and virtually. That way, you give a greater opportunity for our children and our teens to participate. What about having families worship together in the sanctuary on Sunday? And with that caveat, I'm speaking for a little older child in elementary. So your babies and your toddlers and your pre-Kers may stay in the classroom, and your older children and through teens would actually sit with the family. And if you have more than one service, why not dedicate one of those services to families, where you allow your families to sit together in the sanctuary and have spiritual time together. This opens up for space to be used in really a great way to help divide those toddlers from your nursery and really have more room space for your children. And of course, I'm a great believer of service for our teens, and why not work with your local food banks and outreach centers and distribution centers, where the teens and your leaders and ministers and chaplains can meet together and serve and work at a food bank or distribution center, and let people know that who you are and that you represent unity, and that unity is serving the community. Some of these suggestions and models may not fit, and they all might fit, but either way, apply what works best for you and your church and your youth and family ministry. We may have to stay distant still in order to be close, so choose your time wisely when you're bringing youth and family back into your sanctuary. Remember, we are never alone, and I'm here to support you in any way I can. God is in the midst and always good, and I believe that even though the outward appearance of COVID-19 has been disruptive in many ways, it's also brought a lot of good. Who knew I could Zoom all around throughout the week? And that's brought a lot of our youth closer together, and that to me is a win-win. Let us be creative, safe, and willing to use our imagination. And let us, above all else, not cling to the past, but embrace the future with an open heart and mind. We are always one in spirit. I would like to thank the following websites and those that put this material together in order that I bring it to you: in childrensmercy.org, Baptist Health, the EPA.gov specifically for their pesticide and disinfectant registration list, for Church Mutual for their resource on returning to worship safely, and also the cdc.gov specifically for their child care guidance, schools, and their child care up-to-date lineups. So if you enjoyed this presentation, it is free and it was made possible by the generosity of Unity Ministers of the Mid-Atlantic states. UMAS is an association of Unity ministers, spiritual leaders, and their spouses or partners in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama. UMAS is a not-for-profit corporation supported solely by the financial love offerings from individuals and from member Unity spiritual centers. If this video has blessed you in any way, you are invited to share a financial gift with UMAS so we can keep these kinds of trainings available for church leadership. You can easily give your gift by texting GIVE or the prompts to use the secure and dedicated service at 1-833-319-0842 or by visiting their website at umas.org and click the yellow donate button. Or you may also mail a check to UMAS in care of David Torres at 309 Intrepid Court, Greer, South Carolina, 29650. In 2 Corinthians 9:8, it is written, "And God is able to provide you with every blessing in abundance, so that by always having enough of everything, you may share abundantly in every good work." We affirm that the blessings you receive today will multiply as you seek to be a leader within your spiritual community and in the Unity movement. Thank you for giving, and thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.